This episode is brought to you by DistroKid.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon Prime. There's nothing sweeter than baking cookies during the holidays. With Prime, I get all my ingredients delivered right to my door, fast and free, no last-minute store trips needed. And of course, I blast my favorite holiday playlist on Amazon Music. It's the ultimate soundtrack for creating unforgettable memories. From streaming to shopping, it's on Prime. Visit Amazon.com/Prime to get more out of whatever you're into.
Hey everybody, today's guest is my old friend Jon Lewis, guitarist and vocalist for the Cincinnati, Ohio punk rock band, the Dopamines. Together we discuss the writing, recording, and inspiration behind the fan-favorite classic, Public Domain, taken from their second full-length album, 2010's Expect the Worst. I've known Jon and the guys for a long time, and they are one band that live sounds exactly like their record. Jon mentioned that this has always been the philosophy of the Dopamines. If it goes down on a recording, the band wants to be able to reproduce it live. The track was recorded by Roger Lima and Matt Yonker, and the two of them did as instructed. They threw up some mics and captured the ruckus. No studio tricks here. This is unfiltered punk rock. Jon shared that the lyrics are his social commentary, his take, if you will, about the he said, she said world in which we all live. And Jon doesn't hold back one iota. He was also kind enough to send along a couple working demos of the track for our listening pleasure. So for all this, and a lesson on what a Cincinnati harmony is, grab a sixer of your favorite elixir and step inside the public domain.
Hey, hey, have you heard? Krista makes a podcast. Hey, hey, have you heard? Krista makes a podcast. Hey, hey, have you heard? Krista makes a podcast. Hey, hey, have you heard? Krista makes a podcast.
Jon Lewis, one of my favorite people on the planet. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Chris?
I love you. You're awesome.
I love you too. I love everyone in Less Than Jake. You've all been so nice to us over the years and been awesome to hang with and party with. And
yeah, man. Well, we got a lot of history with you guys. And before we get into all that, would it be safe to classify Dopamines as drunk punk?
yeah, usually the way I usually flag it as blue collar pop punk. I mean, I'm not like a blue collar guy, but it's like working man's pop punk. It's not like, it's not typical like poppy emo tropes, although it's just a little grittier and more drunk. So yes, circling back, drunk pop punk.
Fair enough. We, Less Than Jake, did some shows with Dopamines. This would have been going back to 2007, 2008, somewhere in there.
Yes, and also we did a run with you guys. I think it was 2010, something like that. Roger actually played guitar with us for 2 shows before Mikey Erg showed up to take his place.
Yeah, and I can't remember if I told this on the after party, if it was the main show, but I don't even know if you know this. You know the story of Matt Yonker and I standing in the field, Matt Yonker, drummer for Less Than Jake, standing in a field in Austria watching you guys and the kid knocked me over?
No, I don't. I know the show. That was 2019, but no, I need you to tell me.
Well, you guys were the first band on, and you were on this main stage. It was a massive tent. It's like one of those tents that can hold like 10,000 people, like a circus tent.
Yeah.
And John Weiner, your former bass player, John gets on the mic and says, "I don't care if someone's standing next to you and they're not moving, you knock them over." So I'm standing there with Yonker, and I'm like 20 feet behind the soundboard. And you're the first band on. It's like 11:30 in the morning, 12 noon. And there's maybe 400 people in this tent. It's pretty sparse, and they're pretty much all up front by you guys. And you guys launch into the song, and I get hit to the ground. I get hit hard, and I look behind me, and it's this chubby Austrian kid with his like punk rock battle vest on. He's standing there, and he can just see that I'm incensed.
Like,
and Yonker's like, he's just a kid. He's just a kid.
They're just ready to throw down.
I said, "What are you doing?" And he looks at me. He says, "They told us to move." And we still laugh about that to this day. And you guys were great.
Yeah, was that the one at Punk Rock Holiday? Is that what that show was?
No, that was Punk Rock Holiday was Belgium, and that was a show for the books.
Oh my God, the R's in 2019, where John threw the bass out into the river. Yeah, that was a good one.
I watched you guys with Carl Alvarez from Descendants that day.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh God, sets can be kind of memorable, some in the wrong way most of the time, but But yeah, that's awesome.
What is it about Public Domain that has risen to the top for the Dopamines? What do you think it is? I think I know.
I don't know. I mean, I know when we recorded it, it was like, all right, well, this is the heater on it. This is going to be like the heater on Expect the Worst. You could just tell. And I think if I look back, it's easier to talk about it like this is what was going on in my head when we were writing it. But it was purposeful, the idea that like I tend to put a lot of words. I have a lot to say. And usually there's not a lot of choruses in our song. So I would say, all right, we need some woes and we need it to be repeated, like repeatable, not necessarily what was going on when we were writing it, but we're very self-aware. And in that moment was like, all right, this song is like, we need something over the plate so people don't have to learn like 100 words that that are all mixed together and said way too fast.
Well, you sent me a couple demos, and they were both full band demos. The first one seemed a little bit bigger and cleaner. The second one was a little more high-endy. I couldn't really tell too much of a difference between them, those demos, and the recording. The recording is obviously sonically better, but barring a couple conjunctions and words and stuff, it was pretty much the same.
Yeah, that was all because we were scared to death. Because that time we had one album out at the time, and we had an EP, the Soap and Lampshades EP, and then that was when conversations started to happen between us and Vinny, and talking about Paper and Plastic, and Matt Drastic, who you'd already mentioned, he's recorded 90% of everything we've ever done. So there was this moment where it was like, all right, Vinny likes you guys, Paper and Plastic is on the table. Roger's going to record this thing potentially. And we kind of felt like, all right, we need to be on our shit. So I went back and listened to, I sent you 2 demos, but we were we were so prepared for that record. And I think those demos reflect that we had spent so much time preparing. And then I went through over the weekend and was listening to all the demos again on cassette. And there's like 4 different versions of it. I only sent you 2. The other 2 were almost identical. There was nothing different. I think it just boils down to just being absolutely prepared, which is very much unlike us.
And I have to ask, why did you record it multiple times then? Just for practice or just?
Yeah, it was just, the recording gear was there. Our demo setup back then was like, just walk in and hit record. And then, let's just listen back to it. And it was more to just make sure we were on it. But yeah, we were just hitting record, and then, I just happened to have 4 different versions of it that are relatively the same. So I don't know what got into us for that record. But
you had mentioned the self-titled record in 2008, followed by the EP, and then Expect the Worst was released in 2010. Your second album, produced or recorded, I should say, by Roger Lima from Less Than Jake and Matt Yonker, Matt Drastic, and mixed by Stephen Egerton from The Descendants. Public Domain is the second track on the album. And did you guys record this in Nashville?
No, we recorded at the Moat House.
Oh, wow. You went down to Gainesville.
Yeah, so it was on the heels. We were actually in Europe right before recording, and we played our first fest. It was Fest 8. We played for the first time. So it was like things were just rolling with us. Like things, we didn't have a lot of expectations in this band from the jump. And then all of a sudden it's like Insubordination Fest and go to Europe and come back and play your first Gainesville Fest. These things were such a big deal to us that, when we got back, it was like, oh my God, we're going to be staying in Gainesville and we're going to be recording at the Moat House with Roger and Matt. And it was important for us to be, I wouldn't say on our best behavior, but at least not make ourselves look stupid once we got there.
Well, the thing about a band like Dopamines, I don't think you can overly produce your band. I don't think the guitars and the vocals and the harmonies can be perfect because you lose what's here. And, I look back at the evolution of my band, for instance, and, we started fixing our records around Hello Rockview, putting things on the grid and whatnot. Well, that makes you play like that. I want to sound like the record. I want to present that. And what I admire about bands like the Dopamines is you guys go in and you kind of record what comes out. Okay. And I was really surprised. It had been a minute since I heard Public Domain. When I went back and I'm combing through this, John, I really feel like knowing the producer Roger is that he lets you guys just be yourselves.
Yeah, I actually just talked to Matt. So I had messaged Roger and Matt and said, hey, do you have any memories, anything come to mind? I'm recording Expect the Worst, public domain specifically. And Roger said something, he just said, oh, it was a good time. And you got, it all just kind of magically came together. And Matt said something specific. He was like, you guys were worried about it being too clean, like the vocals specifically. And looking back on it now, I think it's to your comment of wanting to play like the record sounds, and then also capturing the essence of who we are, which is not a band who is polished that then will play polished. We are who we are, and we just we have to make sure we maintain that. That's a testament to Roger doing such a good job of, as a producer, to him. There was a lot of moments where it was do another take, do this, like it, when we were like, well, I played it fine. I don't see why. Never an argument or anything like that, but it was always like, oh shit, is this going to sound too clean? Because he was asking for more little things here and there that he wanted to hear, but the end result, it didn't overshadow our ability to play it live.
Well, and you guys sound exactly like you do on recording to me when I see the band play. And there's something special to be said about that too, that you can emulate what the fans are hearing.
Yeah, that's important because we take ourselves seriously in some areas, and some areas we don't. Playing live is more like it's like being in a fight with the audience and trying to win them over. It's like lose them right away, win them back, and let's all joke and poke fun at each other. And then we're also wearing instruments and singing sometimes. Like it sometimes can be secondary. So it's good that that we're not too hot in the studio.
You had every reason to have that concern that this is going to be too clean. I mean, for instance, what Less Than Jake can sound like on certain songs, how Roger can produce. And you kind of, I think that's the reason I never really got into production. I'd have a hard time doing that. I'd want to fix things, and I would muck things up. I think I would mess with the integrity sometimes of a band that doesn't need to be messed with. Sometimes bands are just so all over the place and they don't have a sound yet that you have to help them as a producer. And I don't think that's what's going on here. I want to jump into this bad boy, John.
Let's do it.
It's 2 minutes and 16 seconds, and I wrote, no need for an intro. This is punk rock.
Nope.
Was that ever discussed? I know it wasn't on the demo. Was it just vocals off the top?
Right, straight off the top. It never discussion about an intro or anything leading into it. It was just go.
Did you guys, obviously you went to Pro Tools, did you track all at once? Basic tracks? Were you in the same room together? Just keep the drum track?
So the way we do it is we'll record together as much as needed to capture the drums, which is the first thing up, like to capture. So historically, every record we've ever done, it has always at minimum been Michael on drums, me on scratch guitar, maybe a scratch vocal if he thinks he needs it. But playing all together, no. But that one specifically, there was Michael in the basement because that's where Roger was recording drums at Mode House at the time. And then me upstairs with a scratch guitar playing along. Because I think we were in and out of click track. We were and we weren't. We were, we weren't. We did a little bit of both there. So not all together live. It was more focused on one instrument, one performance at a time.
I didn't figure you used a click track, so you used it on some stuff.
He really wanted to use it, and we used it on the first record, and we primarily used it on Expect the Worst. There was just a few areas where we were like, look, naturally this tempo needs to slow down a little bit it only happened once or twice, but there would be times where it was like, this is getting like, things are getting messy, so we would have the click track on and then mute it for a certain part and then bring it back on just so it wouldn't confuse like a fill or something Michael was trying to do that like kind of impeded on a tight beats per minute.
Well, and as you know, it's hard. And sometimes you just want to fly stuff, like if this verse, you can just take this part from there. And that's hard to do when stuff's not on the grid.
Yeah. We usually stay away from flying stuff unless we're like, my voice is blown or we're just like tired and it's the end of the session, like 8 days in. And we're like, fuck it, just fly this over here. But historically, everything is like cover to cover. Singular performance.
Gotcha. Well, once again, drums, bass, and stereo guitars right off the top with the lead vocal.
He said that she said that I said that I did. Now I'm dead. Oh shit. I fucked up. We fucked up. Then he screams and she cries. Then he bleeds cause he lied. But then he's not decide. But it's okay because he tried. Whether or not it's true.
He said that she said that I said that I did. Now I'm dead. Ah, shit. I fucked up. We fucked up. Then he screams and she cries. Then he's pleased, 'cause he lied. But then his tongue is tied. But it's okay, because he tried.
Man, that's a lot. So I think the lyrics kind of speak for themselves a little bit, and that the song is just about essentially. I was in a time in my life where I had this broader group of friends. I've always had like a few friends here and there, and then I entered this world of punk rock where my friends were my core friends, my bandmates, and then it was there's all these other people that hang out. We're all hanging out at this big house, and then those friends have friends, and those friends have friends. And it was my first kind of experience with, were you talking to this person? Because he was saying that you did this. And I was like kind of thrown into like, everyone goes through this in some way. Sometimes it's in high school or, sometimes it's in, a friend circle in college or that. It was my first go with like, oh my God, like I said something to someone and they just turned and said it to someone else. Like it became this. I was new to like the drama of like an inner circle and an outer circle. So the lyrics kind of reflect that kind of a situation where he said, she said, I did. I fucked up. We fucked up. You fucked up. Then, I think it speaks for itself for the most part. But
did you write this specifically for the record? Did you have this laying around? Was this something, a concept that you was brewing in your head?
Yeah, it was a concept brewing in my head because it was, like I said, it was just interesting. Like, I hadn't have a ton of friends up until I started playing music. And then way longer before this song was written, it was like cutting my teeth on like just being a part of a larger group and dealing with like the drama that, comes with having a large group of friends and who all love and hate each other or whatever. But just those, it was like a teen movie almost. But yeah, it was drumming around. I was ready to write about some shit like this for sure.
Well, on the line, I fucked up, where you say we fucked up, it sounds like there's 2 or 3 voices there. And then we get a harmony on 'cause he lied. Talk to me about that. I mean, I obviously know how Roger works and how Matt works, but you're in there, you got the verse, and did you already, I know from the demos where stuff was lying, but did Roger have suggestions? Maybe you put a harmony here, or did you have it how you wanted it?
Yeah, I think it was a little bit of both, because I know it's almost like you listen to rap and there's like a height vocal like at the end of each bar, like a lot of that. So there's a lot of that going on here. And Roger made fun of that a lot on this record because sometimes it wasn't a harmony. Sometimes it was just a double. And he was like, why are you doubling instead of like harmony? I don't get it. And we're like, we're just doubling just to add texture to it. But it's 2 different people. It's John and John. And then he's like, so it's like a Cincinnati harmony. So he just started calling it Cincinnati harmony. He was like, you going to do a harmony here or are you going to do a Cincinnati harmony?
Well, I have that written here. But what I always thought, I have it right here, Cincinnati harmony, because they come back from recording this project and they're telling me about this. And maybe they weren't even telling me about it, John. I think I was actually in the vocal booth and I'm doing some harmony. And Roger's like, you're unison on those 2 notes right there. I'm like, yeah, it sounds cool. He's like, it's a Cincinnati harmony, meaning that some of it's in unison, but a word here or there will. And I find that, John, I find that so much in songs. We're talking huge hits by major bands that have that. So I don't really follow what Roger's talking about here.
No, yes and no. I guess I don't know. You gotta find your moments to dig in and poke and pick on us. In the studio, getting to know each other and stuff. So it was abundant in our stuff, especially early stuff. So he was like, why are you always fucking doing this? And in my mind, I'm like, I don't know, because it just makes sense. I mean, it doesn't sound wrong. And to your point, we're not the first band of just unison vocal. It's almost like a gang vocal, but just,
But don't you change, if you start changing things like that with a band like yours? I don't want you to feel like I'm singling you out or picking on you in a weird way, but I'm looking at a band like yours. You can't fix all this stuff. And I was, again, really surprised at the restraint that Raj had. This sounds like you guys sound like live. There's not a lot going on production-wise.
Yeah, no, and that's a testament to him, especially because of how much we were freaking out that it was going to sound too polished. And clearly it didn't because where you play it live and there's no issue whatsoever, being able to perform that shit live, even if it were harmonies. Interesting note on that, though, is that a lot of times when we're in the studio, And, like this song, you hear the demo, there's not much extra flair from what we already had in mind.
Yeah.
But when we go to play it live, or we're practicing it after we recorded it, it's happened more than once where all of a sudden, like, Weiner will start hitting a part that I'm supposed to be doing, and he's supposed to be taking like the fifth or taking the harmony or something. So what'll happen is, and I do it still to this day, is we play the song, I listen to what Josh or John is singing, and if it's my part and there's a harmony, I just take the under. I'm like, whatever comes naturally for someone else is better for me to slide in underneath than go, no, you have to stay on this part. This is your part here. I sing this part, you sing this, and then live it could go sideways, especially when you're like 5 or 6 beers in. So it's funny that you say that, just because in the studio, it's whatever is necessary, and same with playing it live. It's like whatever's necessary to make sure this comes out clean live, and it doesn't sound like a mess. So
well, and I coined you guys drunk punk because of Carl Alvarez that day at watching you guys in Belgium. It was like probably 14 seconds into you guys playing, he just looks over at me and goes, "Drunk punk, cool." Like, he's like, I get it.
That's awesome.
But
it's flattering.
Right off the heels of verse 1, we're in pre-chorus 1.
Whether or not it's true, what exactly does that make you? Whoa.
Whether or not it's true, what exactly does that make you?
Yeah, that would have helped me bring together what the verse is about, or how to get specific with the lyrics. But it's like, look, all this shit's going on. He said this, she said that, you fucked up, I fucked up. And it's like turning to someone else and going, you know what? What difference does it make to you? What does this have to do with you? And why are you the one starting the fire? And it's like, just fuck you. Like, who are you to be the mediator of something that, that is probably a mountain out of a molehill kind of thing.
Hey everybody, don't go anywhere. We got lots more coming up with Jon Lewis after a few words from our sponsors.
Looking to elevate your music career? DistroKid is a digital music distribution service that enables musicians to distribute their music to online stores and streaming platforms such as Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Music, Amazon, Tidal, and many more. DistroKid collects earnings and payments, sending them to you, the artist. With DistroKid, artists unlock a world of possibilities. From easily paying collaborators with splits to securing your music with DistroLock, DistroKid covers all bases. Plus, you can promote your releases with Hyperfollow and create eye-catching visuals with a Spotify Canvas generator, all for free. But that's not all. Introducing the DistroKid app, now available on iOS and Android. Artists can manage their releases, view streaming stats, and withdraw earnings, all from the palm of their hand. And for those looking to perfect their sound, check out Mixia. With its simple interface and customizable mastering options, artists can make their music sound polished and professional within minutes. And don't forget about Instant Share, DistroKid's newest feature. Share large files securely with collaborators, producers, and more, ensuring your music streams at the highest quality. Ready to take your music to the next level? Download the DistroKid app and explore their suite of tools today. Plus, listeners can enjoy 30% off their first year by visiting distrokid.com/VIP/DeMakes. That's distrokid.com/VIP/DeMakes.
With Amex Platinum, you can really be in the now. Access to Resi Priority Notify. Yes. 4 p.m. checkout with fine hotels and resorts booked through Amex Travel.
We needed this.
And dedicated card member entrances at select events.
Let's go!
Means you can focus on the present moment. That's the powerful backing of American Express. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/withAmex. Card member entrance access not limited to Amex Platinum Card.
Okay, I have to tell you, I was just looking on eBay where I go for all kinds of things I love, and there it was.
That hologram trading card. One of the rarest, the last one I needed for my set. Shiny like the
designer handbag of my dreams. One of a kind. eBay had it, and now everyone's asking, ooh, where'd you get your
windshield wipers? eBay has all the parts that fit my car. No more annoying, just beautiful.
Whatever you love, find it on eBay. eBay. Things people love.
Hey friends, have you been loving Krista Makes a Podcast? Well, spread the love by leaving a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Don't hesitate to share what you enjoy about the show in an actual written review on Apple Podcasts. Not only does it help more people discover us, but we often read reviews in the wrap segment of the show. It's a quick, cost-free way to support us and takes just a minute of your time. Your reviews mean the world to us and help us keep the podcast thriving. Thank you for being a listener, and thank you for being a friend.
And now, back to the show.
Well, there's no harmonies here in pre-chorus 1, but the whole band stops right when the pre-chorus begins, and we hear the band ringing out the guitars and everything from the verse. And on the second line, what exactly does that make you? Another full band hit and ring out on what exactly? And then the full band comes back in on Does That Make You to set up chorus 1.
Does that make you? Whoa, we all are. Whoa, we all are. Whoa, we're all the same. We're just public domain. Whoa, we all are. Whoa, we all are. Whoa, we're all the same. We're just public domain. Everybody's got a
Whoa, oh, we all are. Whoa, oh, we all are. Whoa, oh, we're all the same. We're just public domain. And that repeats again. All the whoa-oh-ohs are kind of like a gang vocal, but it sounds like two voices. It's like a gang part to me, but there's not it's not a huge production there. Was it just you and John?
Yeah, it's just the two of us just backing each other up.
That's what it sounds like. And I love how the guitars are following, the guitars and bass are following each other rhythmically for the first half, like the staccato playing.
It's real syncopated. That was a big thing for us, especially with Michael at the helm, he gets off on that, that syncopation for a good reason. It's great when it comes together like that. And it kind of it's almost like it was written, they were written for each other. The vocals and the music and the chorus were kind of go hand in hand. It's nice when it comes together like that.
You could have just been strumming all downstrokes there, but I love what that does to the feel of the song.
Yeah, and it's that, again, kind of goes back to the song, as much as things just kind of weren't purposeful necessarily, but for this song it was all right, I want to do a song where it's an easier sing along, and there's an actual chorus. We don't do that a ton in all of our records, so that staccato, all that, it was very deliberate. It was wanting to make a song that does these things that I don't think we had done up to this point.
It's interesting too, because I've done that with Roger on bass, but if the drums aren't playing the right groove, it doesn't work all the time. It sounds like you're facing an uphill battle with something that's syncopated like that. But when it works like this, it definitely works. Again, the chorus goes through 2 times. And John, I'd like to mention that on the harmony of Public Domain that happens twice in the chorus, that to me is a real harmony. It doesn't sound like no
Cincinnati there.
No Cincinnati. And there's also no Cincinnati on 'Cause He Lied, that harmony in the verse. I don't know if I made mention of that. But chorus 1, we head right into verse 2. And before we go, we talked about it a little bit, but why wasn't there more vocals on that whoa-oh-oh? It seems like that could have been a gang. Was that ever discussed?
I don't think so. No, I think we just did it and moved on. If it should have been a gang vocal, I mean, I'm glad it's not. I mean, it obviously, when we play it live, it becomes a gang vocal because
that's why I'm talking about it.
Yeah,
I went and watched some live videos of this. It's every fist in the air. And it turns into a gang vocal part, right?
Yeah, I think it's not trying to put the cart before the horse, if I'm using that term correctly. We're look, we'll let everyone else when this song is our biggest song, because we knew this going in and all this whatever bullshit. But I like the way it sounds on record, more than if it had been a gang vocal.
That sounds like such a producer's excuse, though. It's like you go in as a band like yours and you say, this is 2 vocals. This is what we sound like. He's like, but the whole crowd's going to be singing the gang. It's like, well, are you a live band or are you a studio band? We're making a record here. So
right. Yeah.
You guys went with 2 vocals and it sounds great. Verse 2 comes right out of chorus 1.
Everybody's got a master's degree in telecommunicationary tactic with a minor in therapy. A mix when injected produces an asshole. I hope you all choke tangled up in the cords of your switchboard. I hope you choke on your pride when you swallow it whole.
Everybody's got a master's degree in
You want me to get
telecommunicationary? Jesus. Everybody's got a master's degree in telecommunicationary?
It's not a real word anyway. I don't think so, at least.
Chris is probably going to keep this in to embarrass me. Everybody's got a master's degree in telecommunicationary tactic.
Yes.
With a minor in therapy. I got it. A mix, when injected, produces an asshole. I hope you all choke, tangled up in the cords of your switchboards. I hope you choke on your pride when you swallow it whole. Telecommunicationary. What is that all about?
Well, so the whole thing is kind of a warped game of telephone. That's kind of where it's easier to talk about these lyrics after hearing more of them back. The more I hear, the more I'm like, oh yeah, song's just basically a glorified game of telephone between a lot of drunk people. So telecommunicationary is like it's just trying to throw in buzzwords that are switchboard, telephone. Like I started to just shoehorn that stuff in there. I'm a big like syllable guy and a big like I like it when the way things flow, and I'll do whatever I can to make it kind of flow, what I'll say seamlessly, if you want to call it that. But I made up that word.
Are you at this party where all these punks are that you've met their friends and they met your friends you were talking about earlier? Yeah. Are you referencing them and everybody's got a master's degree? Oh, the beers are flowing and everyone's philosophizing and I know I got the next great invention.
Yes, it's pretty much that. It's like everyone knows what you should be doing, or everyone has an opinion on the situation that you're in, or opinion on anything. And everyone's an expert. Everyone knows the right thing to do. Everyone's a fucking therapist. Like you know how it is. I mean, you've had friends. That's just how it is.
What's the mix you speak of? A mix, when injected, produces an asshole.
Kind of the idea that it's a formula. Like here's a master's degree in this, and with a minor in this, mix it, inject it. That's how you make an asshole. Kind of like a Futurama reference. There's an episode of Futurama where a scientist is like putting all the worst things in the world together to create this like incredible being of incomprehensible terror, and then it's just a guy. He mixes it together and a guy steps out of a vessel and it's just a guy, and he's like, turns out it's man.
I have combined the DNA of the world's most evil animals to make the most evil creature of them all.
It turns out it's man.
Well, on the line, telecommunicationary tactic. God, that is hard to say. We get a full Cincinnati harmony on that one. And yes. that one in particular is really loose. Nothing. I mean, Roger could have maybe scooted it back a little bit. It's really, and again, the integrity of the band is there. I'm assuming that was just one of the takes, right? I mean, you did. How many? Do you remember laboring over the vocal takes, or was it just a couple passes and he edited it and that was it?
I think vocals probably weren't there wasn't too much work and not enough work on them. I think we just let it come out. I know my voice back in the day I used to tear my vocal cords up pretty easily back then. So I'm sure we did a lot just to be able to punch in where my voice cracked or something like that. But I think we did enough on the vocal side. I don't think there's anything crazy going on there. A lot of extra work or not enough.
Well, and there's a way to listen to music, and most of us listen to it, we're driving down the road, we're hearing things, and sometimes, how many times have you done this? We're driving down the road or wherever we're at, listening to a song, we're like, oh man, I was like thinking about something else. I got to rewind the bridge. That's my favorite part of the song. I've always said that. Leave a listener wanting more. That harmony there, the telecommunicationary, that's definitely a Cincinnati. We also get a couple more on I Hope You All Choke, Tangled Up in the Cords of Your Switchboards, and on Swallow It Whole. Definitely Cincinnati. Some of the words are in unison and some go off on harmonies. And the first half of verse 2, the drums, bass, and the stereo guitars are ringing out from chorus 1, but it's just bass and the drums up until the I Hope You All Choke line, and the stereo guitars go to 8th note palm mutes there. I like that change, and I like that the second verse breathes. That was how it was on the demo. Nothing got changed.
Yeah, that's just how. I mean, I feel like that's textbook. It's like, all right, first verse you're all opened up, or the first verse you're muted down and you open it back up, and then in the second verse it's like, all right, let's ring out, let it breathe a little bit, give it some variety to what is essentially the same chords. Like, so just just to mix it up. I feel like it's kind of like textbook, like songwriting, where you're like, if you're going to do the same thing chord structure wise, it's sometimes a good idea to just kind of to let the performances kind of stagger or do something a little different.
How important, I mean, we talked a little bit about the integrity of the band and this is how you sound, but how important was it to you guys to not have excessive or really any overdubs on this in terms of like, hey, we're going to put an octave guitar in the choruses to thicken them up or run a third guitar? I mean, this is a 4-piece band I'm hearing.
Yeah, so, and we recorded as a 3-piece at that time, and that's a good point to bring up because this whole song, the composition of it or the chords, everything was as a 3-piece. We were working our way into a 4-piece. We were a 3-piece recording. We added, Mikey Erg playing live with us after this record came out. Roger filled in for a couple shows, and of course we have Josh Golden now as a permanent second guitar. But at the time of writing this song, I was really hung up on trying to sound like we were a 4-piece, but just a 3-piece. That's where the open chords came in, where it was, all right, if we got more sonically going on with these chords than just a power chord, it'll just sound more full without having a fourth person there or a second guitar there, which obviously we once we recorded this album, we felt like we needed to add something to make it more full on stage. But that part of that, the way the song was written, the way it was, even the chord choices, because everything is just an open chord on an E standard guitar. There's nothing fancy there. So that was all very deliberate.
Yeah, and that's interesting you say that because it makes sense now because you're already getting those high notes. Why put an octave in there? You're already getting them with playing the open chords. That's great. Well, pre-chorus 2, the same instrumentation as pre-chorus 1, but we get a different set of lyrics here in pre-chorus 2. Obviously, that was important to you to get some more information in here.
Absolutely, it's always that's always my MO. Like, I got more to say. Let's see where we can cram it in.
Well, because I've talked about this too. A lot of times the pre-chorus is it's such a great setup to the chorus. It almost becomes a chorus in and of itself.
Absolutely.
And you want to keep those lyrics the same both times. And other times it doesn't matter.
Yeah, when you're drunk and you're in a crowd, and I'm, how many times have you been in a crowd and hearing a song that you love? Like you're watching Alkaline Trio and you're listening to Time to Waste and you're like, think about the lyrics that you mess up, you forget about because you're expecting the same thing, and then that little curveball gets thrown. When in the right state of mind, it'll throw you, even if it's an earworm.
And when your life is through, no one will be there to comfort that it's you. Whoa!
And when your life is through, no one will be there to confirm that it's you. And the pronunciation on confirm, you say like confirm.
Yeah.
Was that discussed? That was interesting to me. That was one thing where I was like, I can't believe Roger didn't have something to say about that.
Yeah, no discussion was had about it, but I get that. I don't know if you want to call it confidence or certainty that like, no, this is how I'm going to say it. This is how these syllables are going to come out of my mouth during this part. It's very much a Fat Mike worship thing. I've always liked how he's like the Tasmanian devil of just destroying syllables in one particular word.
I don't think there's a line in this song or anything I would have changed. If I was sitting in the producer's chair, though, I probably would have had something to say about that line. It's disjointed and it's kind of weird, but it's perfect.
I don't hear it any other way. I'm trying to think about it now. If I had to go right now and sing it right now the right way, I don't think I could. I think it's just the way it was always going to come out.
Let me really clarify that to everyone listening. When I say disjointed, it's for me looking at it under a microscope this way. But if I'm driving down the road rocking out to this song, these are things you never, ever think of, right?
Oh, yeah.
Most of the time.
Oh, yeah. You're just kind of in it and singing it and not really thinking about it.
Here's where things start to get interesting, okay? In chorus 2, it's basically the same as chorus 1, but we start to get this kind of chord wobble. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's that E minor to G, and it's really, really noticeable in chorus 3. We're going to get there at the end of the song.
I don't remember doing it in chorus 2.
It's not really there, but it's almost it's either an anticipation on the bass or one of the guitars. Someone's jumping it a little bit, maybe anticipating chorus 3.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying now. Now I do. Now I want to go back and listen to it because I know what you're talking about now.
It's not there on chorus 1 at all.
Yeah.
But you start to hear it on chorus 2, and by chorus 3, it's really evident. That is one of the strangest chord moves ever. And again, did Roger have something to say about that?
No, and you're talking about 3 or 2, chorus 2 or 3. 2, I think was, I agree with you now. It's in preparation of 3, knowing that third one takes such a drastic dip.
Yes.
That there's a little extra like movement when going to the G, I believe, if I can remember my own song correctly. When moving to the G, there's like a little bit of a sweep into the G that might be more obvious in chorus 2 than in chorus 1.
Correct. Yeah, it's like, I think it goes G to E minor, back to G, F, and then it just comes up to G typically, but it goes F, E minor to G. It's like the dun-dun on the word same. And I was like, at the end of the song, I don't remember that ever happening. I almost thought I had some weird different version or something. I went and listened to another one, and same thing. Was that one person that was playing like that and you all latched onto it? Is that how you wrote it? Because I don't really hear it on the demos.
No, so you're exactly right. Think about who's on the list during recording. It's Michael doing drums, then Jon does bass, and then of course I had a scratch guitar on the drums. But Jon, he's got his performance down. It probably had more to do with Jon's interpretation. Like, we played the song over and over and over again. We demoed it like 4 times. But there are these little things that happen, and it happens in our band every time we go to record, where when you go bass or go drums and then bass and then stereo guitars, but like usually during bass is where I'll be listening and go, oh shit, he does something slightly different. And instead of going, it's different, I do it this way, unless I'm really, really really passionate about a certain specific piece in a song or a part or a chord change. Usually I just adapt to it. I'm like, you know what? Like, this isn't like a make or break. I don't want to throw off his feng shui by nitpicking over like a little extra movement between chords or something like that. So it absolutely was. I can't say with certainty, but I would guess that Jon did the bass after the drums, and that's kind of how he went with it, and we just followed.
It gets crazy on the third chorus. It's like, what is going on here? It's really interesting, though. It's definitely different. Chorus 2, right out of it, again, it's what I'm calling a double chorus. It happens twice. We get into the bridge.
I trust that you expect the worst from us. I trust that you're exactly like us. I trust that you expect the worst from us. I trust that you're exactly like us. Whoa.
I trust that you'll expect the worst from us. I trust that you're exactly like us. And it happens again. I trust that you'll expect the worst from us. I trust that you're exactly like us.
That's pretty much bringing it all together. It's like, you're all just as fucked up as we are. So, everyone relax. We're all fucked up.
At the top of the show, I had asked you, I said, what is it about this song? And who can't relate to that?
Exactly. I mean,
that's just life. We all think as kids, I was talking to someone about this recently. We think that, they're adults. They have it all figured out. And then the older we get, we realize we don't have anything figured out. I'd rather be in the sandbox.
100%. Yeah. I think what I couldn't articulate in the beginning of all those just jointed lyrics is that, yes, where we are now, we're all the same. We're all fucked up. Why are we all getting out of sorts over all this little bullshit in our lives?
Well, on the bridge, the whole band hits for just 8 bars, going back between that big C major and that big F major chord. The whole band doing hits. On the first line, I trust that you'll expect the worst from us. We get this cool high bass descendancy riffage that happens there. The hits then continue for another 8 bars with the vocals, and then on the second half, the whole band comes in for 8 more bars to lead into chorus 3, and we get harmonies again on the last 2 lines when the band comes in.
Yep.
The song is so short, it's 2 minutes and 16 seconds. Was there ever a discussion now in getting into chorus 3 of doubling it or going for a third time, or no?
No, the song just was what it was. I think I even going back and listening to all the demos, because we demoed everything on this record more than once. Like I said, I went through all the old cassette tapes demos that we did, and this song in particular had never wavered from its initial composition. It was written this way. It stays this way. I don't know, maybe we knew, like, keep this one tight. We like this one exactly how it is. It's right. Everything about it is right. So and there wasn't any in the studio. I mean, it was a foregone conclusion, or it wasn't even brought up of changing anything whatsoever in this song. Just as is.
Is that what usually happens with you guys, or do you if you brought some songs in, it completely get Frankensteined?
It's a little bit, yeah. It depends. Like, I tend to write, especially nowadays, I tend to write like full compositions and not just these little parts that we bring together as a band. We still do that, but not as often as me just having this entire idea completely realized, brought to the table, and then we do pick things apart, or we'll make something longer, shorter, change the cadence of it, the way the drums are played, or beats per minute. Everything gets tinkered with a little bit. Only, there's some more rare occasions where it comes in and it's kind of unspoken, like, this is fine, this is perfect the way it is. This is one of those.
Gotcha. Well, again, chorus 3 comes right out of the bridge. Same instrumentation and lyrics as the previous 2 choruses, but on those lyrics, we get that low E minor to G. I wrote, very odd, can't believe Roger let that slide.
That was important. That was an important thing to do there. I don't know how to describe it, or what you might have a better term for it, but I do like when I'm hearing something that is absolutely, like, it's repeatable. Like, everything I'm hearing is verse, chorus, bridge, chorus. And then somewhere in the song, somewhere, wherever it is, there's like this little, like, it makes you kind of tick your head to the side a little bit, like, oh shit, like, that was just a little, like, some little sleight of hand that I'm horribly attracted to. So
when you play, I love that. I'm horribly, that's a great way to put it, because sometimes it's like demoitis. How many times do you put something down, you're like, why are you doing that? Well, it's been there since day one. And right. maybe some of that was going on here too. Chorus 3 comes to an end with the full band ringing out. And when you play the song live, I'm assuming you played it at every show since you recorded it.
We've never not played Public Domain.
How can you? Right?
Yeah, no, it'd be horrible to do that to our humble but dedicated fan base or crowd, or whatever you want to call it. If 50 people want to hear Public Domain, they're going to hear it.
They're going to hear it whether they want to or not.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, hey, before we split, what's coming up with the Dopamines yourself? What do you got going on?
I mean, we got a new record that'll be, I think by the time this comes out, it'll be out. So we have a new record called 80/20, and hopefully around this time, when the time this airs, we'll be already planning for 2025. Like, just tour, just kind of get back at it. We take long breaks in between records, so on just being out in the world. So yeah, record 80/20, it's out. It went multi-platinum, so that was great that happened. And we're just gonna play shows, and just whatever opportunities come our way, we're gonna just spend as much time promoting this record and doing right by the material as we can.
Heck yeah. Well, I missed you guys at Brack Rock. We were there a couple months ago, and I thought about you while I was there, and I hope to see you guys. Hope to see your band and play a show with you sooner than later.
Oh yeah, count on it for sure.
And the stage has a spit for a king, still fits for the jester. So excuse me if I fuck up a note, cause I derailed the show with the shot to the dome, and somehow forgot the whole song in its entirety. Cause if you just step back and think how insignificant this bullshit really is, then we can sing one just for us, appreciate this once a week, and leave it all out on the stage. So call off the fucking mob.
Hey everybody, the awesome song that you are hearing right now is For Heaven's Sake Part 2 from the Dopamines' new album 80/20. So make sure you go check that out, and don't go anywhere. We got lots more Chris DeMakes a Podcast coming right up after a few words from our sponsors.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. The holidays mean more travel, more shopping, more time online, and more personal info in places that could expose you to identity theft. That's why LifeLock monitors millions of data points every second. If your identity is stolen, their US-based restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed or your money back. Get more holiday fun and less holiday worry with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
Looking for a pickup truck to get just about anything done? Look no further. The Chevy Silverado EV isn't just the most powerful Silverado ever, with next-level towing capability and technology. It also offers game-changing versatility with the available multi-flex midgate and tailgate, which means Silverado EV helps you carry large, bulky, and oddly shaped items up to nearly 11 feet in length. Chevrolet. Together, let's drive. Visit Chevrolet.com to learn more.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/campaign to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
One Hit Thunder is a podcast where we both celebrate and have a good laugh about bands and artists that had just one hit that we all know. Each week, we're joined by a guest from the world of music or comedy to learn more than you ever thought you would about some songs that you can't forget. And we decide if they brought the One Hit Thunder or were nothing more than a one-hit blunder. Look, if you listen to the show, you're probably going to laugh, and I guarantee you're going to crush next time the bar has music trivia. Tag Team, Jane Child, Meredith Brooks, Looking Glass, Sean Mullins, Eiffel 65, EMF, Crash Test Dummies, Crazy Town, Chumbawamba. We have hundreds of episodes in our back catalog and a new episode each week, so pass the Dutchie, make sure you're connected, and subscribe to One Hit Thunder wherever you get your pods.
As we near the end of the show, here's a band you might not know.
Welcome to this week's Band You Might Not Know. If you'd like your band to be considered for Chris DeMakes a Podcast, email your best song via MP3 only and a short bio to bandyoumightnotknow@gmail.com. This week's featured artist is Clones of Clones, a DC-based indie rock band that features big 90s pop guitars and those Weezer-esque harmonies. Their latest single was co-produced by Jawbox's very own Jay Robbins. And yes, Ben, I'd love to have Jay Robbins on this podcast. Please pass along my info. Here's a snippet of their song, Life Sucks.
The Wrap with Chris and Chris.
Chris, it's pretty funny that Matt Yonker's memory of recording the Dopamines is that he said, you guys were worried that you would sound too clean, which really, that would be a worry. If you're an authentic punk rock band, you want to be true to the style that you play, to how you actually sound, and you don't want to lose that live energy. So I totally get that. You don't want it to sound pristine and perfect. You want it to sound alive.
No, I mean, you could take a band that could, want to do this song pristine, everything's lined up, everything's clean, everything's perfect, but it's not the same song.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris, you've said the term Cincinnati Harmony to me before. Way before I knew we were going to do this episode. You have said that to me before. And I ask you, and I think you kind of answered this in the episode, but I'll ask you again. Is that a bad thing? Is a Cincinnati Harmony a bad thing? I think it's okay to sing certain words in the lyrics in unison and certain words harmonized. To me, that doesn't sound bad.
No, I think it was an inside joke, kind of like a little bit of, poke the bear with these guys, with Roger. But no, I don't think it's a derogatory term at all. I think it is what it is. And even Roger was like, what are you doing there? I don't get it. You're just saying the same thing in unison. And, Jon mentioned that we've had other people on this show talk about rappers do this all the time. There's featured words or featured phrases in a song that they want to jump out at you. And ever since I started doing this show, I go back and I don't care if it's from the 60s, 70s, 80s, pop music. You'll find things like that are just unison, 3 or 4 on this one word. It's all the time.
Unison is not a bad thing.
No.
Unison sometimes sounds like a party. I think back to the Jeff Rosenstock episode where some of his songs sound very live. A lot of them do. Very live, and they sound like a party. And there's huge songs that sing in unison. Not everything has to be in harmony. You can overdo harmonies easily. You got to be tasteful with those as well.
Sure, and that's a great example. Jeff Rosenstock is cut from the same exact cloth as this. We talked about in the Jeff episode. You don't want everything lined up and perfect. There's got to be these little flaws and imperfections that make it sound like you.
Yeah, if you take a band like the Dopamines and make it completely perfect, it's going to be uninteresting. It's going to sound very, what's the word I'm looking for?
Like sterile?
Sterile. That's the word I'm looking for. I was about to say, what's the medical word? Yeah, sterile. That's what it would sound like. You're going to lose all the charm of it. So, yeah, I agree. Nothing wrong with a Cincinnati harmony every once in a while.
No, and let's talk about those gang vocals in the chorus, which aren't gang vocals.
Right.
The audience does them. It's just the two voices. I found that interesting. If there was going to be anywhere to put a true gang vocal, it would have been there. And Jon said, no, we want it to sound just the two voices of the guys in the band.
I get wanting it to sound like the band sounds like. Yeah, if you're in a room full of people that know your band, you are going to have that crowd singing along. But if they're playing in a place where the crowd doesn't know them, it is just going to be those two guys singing it. So I get wanting to stay true to yourself. Chris, you talked about that word, Now, you talked about that word.
You better leave your mistake in.
Yeah, right. You talked about that word telecommunicationary, which is funny, but when you're writing a song, there's no rules. In Punchline, we made up the word. I don't even know if we realized, I think maybe it was Steve who made it up, but that the word politefully. We say the word politefully in a song, and I don't think that's a word. I think politely is a word.
Yes.
Politefully? I don't think there's any rules, and I'll tell you a good example of that, Chris. Do you know the Icelandic band Sigur Rós?
That sounds familiar, but I'm familiar with their music.
Yeah, I don't think they're up your alley, really, but they're a very popular band from Iceland, very interesting band. They have a whole album where they sing in a made-up language called Hopelandic. It's just, you would just assume it's Icelandic. It is not. It is just all fake words.
I love that.
The whole entire album. So, look, man, there's no rules. You can make up words. You can do whatever you want.
There isn't. The Beach Boys kind of invented it with excitations, right? And Good Vibrations. Excitations is not a real word.
Nice.
And how many copies did that single sell, Chris?
That is true. And you talked about pronunciation too. I think you were talking about the word, was it confirmed?
Confirm, yeah. He says confirm,
Confirm.
Yeah.
And he cited Fat Mike. Once again, yeah, that's a perfect example of pronouncing things weird. And I would gladly follow in the steps of NoFX if I, being in a punk rock band. And also, as far as the subject matter of this song, Chris, I thought it was really funny. He talked about being in a room full of people drinking and everyone's an expert. Everyone knows what you should do. Everyone's a therapist. Chris, I've said this before, but if I ask you, hey, Chris, what do you think about this? Or what should I do here? Which I would do that a lot. I do ask you stuff like that. Ask you your opinion. I love it. I want your advice. I cannot take unsolicited advice. Someone offering their 2 cents on me or what I should do or what my band should do when I didn't ask. I can't take that, man. That drives me crazy.
Yeah, wasn't there some guy telling you to chop a certain hertz frequency out of my vocal one time here on the show because he didn't like the way I sounded?
I don't know that that's happened, but yeah.
That has happened. You don't remember that?
Oh, yeah. I thought you were making a joke. You're right. Dude, that's so funny. I don't know if it was an email or a DM or what.
That was early on, and I hit you up, and I said, this guy, you're not going to believe this. He said, you got to chop these frequency out. Chris is too harsh. I'm like, is this guy for real?
Dude, you know what, though? I don't like unsolicited advice, but sometimes maybe you should take it, because in recent years, when I first started out, there are things I learned about frequencies when I do the podcast. So the guy may have just been trying to help out, but I was probably like, I don't want your unsolicited advice. Get out of here.
But I'll tell you, though, Chris, when we do want people's unsolicited advice, that's to go over to Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star review. And
that would be solicited advice, though.
That would be solicited advice. You're right. Jeez. Chris has a review ready for us. And what do you got today?
Yeah, we love these reviews and blah, blah, blah. We tell you this every week. Go leave us a review on Apple Music or Spotify, because, people might read your review and check out our podcast. But Chris, I have 2 really short ones that I want to read to you this week, and there's a reason why.
All right.
These are both reviews from 2 years ago, okay? And they both came up like back to back from each other, and I'm like, damn, we're doing good, and here's why. One of them was someone gave us 5 stars. Someone named EBXGC was their username. And they said, great podcast for fans of the creative process. Now, this was from February of 2022. And they wrote, now let's get a 4-hour anniversary episode where you break down the decline with Fat Mike. Check it off. We did it. Then, Chris, the one right before that was a 5-star review from someone named Thibs J and wrote song request. And they wrote, sick of it all. Step down. Come on, Chris. Can you break down some NYC hardcore with 3 question marks? And look, we didn't do Step Down. We did Injustice System. But we did get some New York City hardcore. In fact, we got sick of it all. So we listen to your reviews, and we try to make all your dreams and wishes come true here on Chris Makes a Podcast.
We absolutely do. So thanks, EBXJC and Fibs J, for your reviews. I had to write them down, Chris. I wouldn't remember that. Yeah. Thanks for your reviews. And don't forget to head over to ChrisDeMakes.com to sign up for our supporting cast. It's like a Patreon where you can get bonus episodes each week of the After Party. Make sure to check out the Chris DeMakes a Podcast Facebook group and check us out on Instagram at Chris DeMakes a Podcast. Want to thank this week's guest, Jon Lewis, and we'll see you next week. Hey there, Chris DeMakes a Podcast listeners. Ready to take your podcast experience to the next level? By signing up for the supporting cast at ChrisDeMakes.com, you not only ensure the continued production of our show, but also unlock exclusive perks. Subscribers receive a weekly bonus episode of our other podcast, The After Party, co-hosted by Chris Fafalius and myself. Many fans rave that The After Party is just as enjoyable as the main show. And with close to 200 music-centric episodes in the archive, there's a treasure trove of entertainment awaiting you. Thank you for tuning in and for your support in keeping the podcast going strong. Join us at ChrisDeMakes.com and let's keep the fun conversations going.
This is the story of Whitney Houston.
This is the story of Kurt Cobain.
Of George Michael, of Otis Redding, of Amy Winehouse, of Michael Hutchence, Bob Marley. This is the story of Prince.
It's a new podcast series
about how they died, why they died, and why we're still talking about them so long after.
It's like nothing you've ever heard before.
It's storytelling.
But it's more than that, because rock stars,
they tell us how we feel. They change our mood.
They change the clothes we wear, the people we hang out with,
the way we remember things.
It's them who give us those ludicrous moments, the ones where you're
jumping around, singing your heart out, feeling understood.
And it's those moments we'll help you remember, the ones you're thinking about right now.
That feeling.
That feeling.
It's coming soon from Crowd Network.
Just search for Death of a Rock Star on your podcast app.
And subscribe now.
When you're part of a military family, you understand sacrifice and support. So at American Public University, we honor your dedication by extending our military tuition savings to your extended family. Parents, spouses, legal partners, siblings, and dependents all qualify for APU's preferred military rate of just $250 per credit hour for undergraduate and master's level programs. American Public University. Value for the whole family. Learn more at apu.apus.edu/military.